Hi there guys, my name is John from ActiveJR.com, and in this video, which is part 2 of the Vivoactive 3 versus Fitbit Ionic versus Apple Watch 3 comparison series, I talk to you about the activity tracking and fitness tracking. If this is the first time you're visiting this video, then you may want to check out the link that's coming above now, which is part 1 of the series, which starts you at the very beginning, and it takes you through the screen, design, and the battery life. Now, before we get started, as always, there's links in the description below if you think about getting one of these. Check those links out. They've got up-to-date live pricing from the retailers, and also clicking on the links also help out ActiveJR to continue to make these videos, so it's greatly appreciated. And also subscribe to my channel, as I really appreciate it. And also, if you've got a comment, please leave it in the comment section below, as I will get back to you. Or you've got a question about any particular products in this video, I'm more than willing to try and get the answer and come back to you. So please leave a comment, as I will respond. So moving on to activity tracking, as with any fitness watch, you need it to be able to track basic activities, and all of these do it really well. When it comes to activity tracking with the Apple Watch 3, it's about closing those rings, and the purpose is to close the rings in 3 areas. One is your activity minutes, and it's a 30-minute activity window. Also active calories burned, but this can be adjusted up and down depending on your personal preference. And also your time standing. Now, it does record steps, as I've already mentioned, and it also records your heart rate information. And all of this can be either viewed on the Apple Watch or on the companion apps which come on the iPhone. It will also remind you to stand every hour. Now, it gives you a tap on the wrist when to stand, and all you need to do then is a walkabout in order to close that particular hour's standing activity. Now, using the Apple Watch and using it for just tracking activity alone, I found it really good. It's really accurate. It does track your steps, and it tracks all of the things that you need to track for a fitness tracker. Closing those rings is a bit exciting at first, and you do get a bit addicted, but after a while it seems to die off, and you don't particularly care whether you close the rings, especially if you've got a fitness goal in mind. So whilst it will motivate some, it won't motivate others. So moving on to the Fitbit Ionic. The Fitbit Ionic again tracks all those things like steps, calories burned, steps per hour, floors climbed, your heart rate, your resting heart rate, your activity minutes. It does a great job at doing all of that. It's also pretty good at tracking your all-day steps and activity, and it will get them pretty accurate. I have found that it's a couple hundred over comparing it to the Apple Watch and the Vivoactive 3, but a couple hundred steps, it's not a massive difference in your overall day. The Fitbit will also remind you, like the Apple Watch, to stand every hour. However, it will tell you how many steps you've got towards your hourly goal. So I think that's really useful, especially if you're quite a long way away. It'll tell you how long you've got. So now moving on to the Garmin Vivoactive 3. Again, the Garmin Vivoactive 3 allows you to track things like steps, calories burned, steps per hour, floors climbed, your heart rate, your activity minute, your distance traveled. It also tracks things like stress and also sleep tracking as well. Now, in terms of accuracy with the Vivoactive 3, I found it really accurate. I've used this quite often with all 3 wearables, and overall throughout the day, it's pretty in line with my normal activity tracker. In terms of the winner in this category, I think it's hard to tell. I think the Vivoactive 3 and the Apple Watch 3 are pretty on par, but if I had to call it, I'd say the Vivoactive 3 is more accurate, closely followed by the Apple Watch 3. The Fitbit Ionic comes in at 3rd, and that's purely down to the fact that it does seem to track steps when you're doing cycling activities, and it did this consistently. So that's something to watch out for. Moving on to fitness tracking. As with any fitness wearable, you need to make sure that it tracks the activities that you're going to be doing. So for instance, if you are going to be doing open water swimming, you want to make sure the fitness watch that you choose can actually do open water swimming and can actually track that particular activity. So just bear that in mind when you're considering buying a fitness watch. Starting with the Apple Watch tracks numerous different activities, and they're coming on the screen right now. There's too many to call out. However, it tracks enough for most users. Now, you can download third-party apps which add additional tracking capabilities, but for the purpose of this review, I'm just going to focus on the native app. Now, the native app itself, it gives you the ability to start and stop activities. It also gives you the ability to pause them and also change your music or skip tracks. You can also customize the data that's seen within the iPhone companion app. Now, it's not as detailed as other fitness watches that you can get. However, again, it's enough information for the average user. Now, using this for running, I found it pretty accurate comparing it to the others and also comparing it to a test device, and overall it will give you things like average pace. It will also give you things like your current pace, but it won't give you advanced running data such as cadence or anything like that. So if you are into your running and that's a real focus for you, then the Apple Watch is going to give you pace, it's going to give you distance, it's going to give you calories burned, your heart rate. Moving on to cycling for the Apple Watch. Again, it works really well. It tracks your distance and it tracks all of those things. One thing that it won't do, it won't track anything like power, it won't track cadence, it won't track advanced cycling metrics, but it will track things like your distance, your calories burnt, your average speed, and those kinds of bits of information. So again, you know, it's okay for the average user, but someone that's wanting something a little bit more advanced, the Apple Watch is probably not going to do it for them. And moving on to swim tracking, it was added back in the Series 2 version, and I used it back then and I wasn't particularly impressed. It does catch things like your strokes in terms of which stroke it is, however, not as accurate as I would expect it to be. So for instance, on a couple of swims, when I did 400 meter distances, it was showing the correct lengths, even though I set the correct pull type and also size, but it wasn't giving me the correct distance. So for instance, 16 lengths and 25 meter pulled is 400 meters, and it was showing 350 meters on some occasions. It also doesn't record your swallow, and it doesn't give you advanced swim metrics. Also, stopping an activity is pretty difficult with the touch screen. So in terms of swimming, I don't think it's particularly good on the Apple Watch. However, it does track it. So, and just bear in mind, if you want advanced data and you want it to be accurate, then the Apple Watch is probably not the right one when it comes to swimming. The Apple Watch doesn't track VO2 max or any cardio fitness information, and it also doesn't have any sleep tracking, which, given its battery life is only 18 hours, I'm not sure if this would be very useful to the Apple Watch. Moving on to the Fitbit Ionic. The Fitbit Ionic again tracks a lot of things from running, cycling, swimming. You can also customize the screens as well, so you do get more customization options in terms of the data that you get on the screen than you do with the Apple Watch 3, so I think this is a real plus. So moving on to the testing for the Fitbit Ionic, when I used it for running, the distances and paces were pretty accurate when I'm comparing it to another fitness watch. It also gives you the information you've customized on the screen, so I think that's really helpful. In terms of advanced running data, it won't again give you things like your cadence, and it won't give you advanced running data. So it will give you basic things, as I've already mentioned, like distance, time, and calories burnt. So if you're wanting more advanced, then maybe the Fitbit is not for you, but it is okay for the average user. Now moving on to cycling, again, the GPS accuracy was there. It works really well, and it gave me enough information when I was out cycling. It doesn't do advanced data like power, cadence, or all of those things you would expect. However, you know, it does give you enough for the average user. One of the things that I've already pointed out, it was recording steps. So again, over a 40k ride, it was recording 5.5k steps, which is quite a lot, which is the half of the average user's step count. So I think that Fitbit do need to sort that out, because it's giving an inaccurate picture of steps and it's skewing some of the data. Using the Fitbit Ionic for swimming, in terms of using the touchscreen in the water, it still works really well, and I found it was a lot more responsive than the Apple Watch 3 and the Vivoactive 3. In terms of tracking on Now, on a couple of occasions, it did over measure my distance and under measure my distance, even though the lengths were correct, similar to what happened with the Apple Watch 3. So that was a big anomaly again with the Fitbit. I wasn't sure why it did that. Now, other cool features with the Fitbit Ionic, it's got a thing called cardio fitness age, which is an indication of how fit you are. So the aim is to be under the your actual age in terms of your cardio fitness, and it uses the data that you've been working out, and it calculates that based on a number of different factors. It does have some built-in workouts that you can do, and I actually followed a couple of these, and they're really useful. Now, the Fitbit Ionic does do sleep tracking, and this is useful if you want to track your sleep. Now, again, I found it pretty accurate in terms of when I went to sleep and when I woke up in the morning. It also shows you when you're in deep sleep and when you're in what's called a REM state. Now, moving on to the Garmin Vivoactive 3, I just want to point out the Garmin Vivoactive 3, in my opinion, is a fitness watch first, so it is really going to excel in this area. It tracks things like running, cycling, swimming, treadmill, weight, strength, walk, indoor, many others, and you can add more. You can take them off. You can rename them. You can do loads of different things. Also can, with the Garmin Vivoactive 3, customize the screen so you can have different data points to view when you're working out, and you also got different screens as well, so you can scroll through those screens. It's a true fitness watch in the sense of it's aimed towards people that are into the fitness. Now, when using it for the activities, in terms of running, it was pretty accurate comparing to the others and also to the test device. It also gives you cadence readouts as well, which I think is really useful. It doesn't work with Garmin's HR Tri or Garmin HR Run, which would give you advanced running dynamics. However, it does give you quite a lot of running data. It also gives you your VO2 max for running, so this is fairly useful if you want to see how you're progressing in terms of your fitness, and I think that's really useful. Now, using it for cycling, again, it's really good. It tracks your distance, it tracks your speed, but you also can attach third-party sensors. So you can attach things like a cadence sensor or a speed sensor. You also can connect the Garmin Viera series, which is the Garmin Viera radar light, which is a safety radar light, which I use with a number of Garmin devices. You can't connect power meters, which I think is a real shame. However, you can do that with iron watches. I can see why Garmin have done that. Moving on to swim tracking. Out of the three, it was really accurate when it came to swim tracking. When I was doing 400-meter test swims, it was doing 16 lengths at 400 meters, and it was giving me my SWOLF reading, which is really useful if you are a triathlete training or you're a swimmer and you want to see how efficient your swimming is, and you want to compare that to other people, or you want to compare that to how you're improving over time. So it does give you advanced swimming information, and it's a really accurate watch for this as well. Can create your own workouts within the Garmin Connect app and download them. So for instance, if you want to do a core blast, or you want to do something else, or you want to do a 7-minute workout, you can create that in the Garmin Connect app and download it and use it in the cardio setting on the watch. Now, when it comes to strength training, again, it really excels in this area. It tracks your reps and sets, just like on the Garmin Fenix 5. And again, whilst it's still an emerging technology, it's still pretty accurate. You still have to do some manual work in the background after a workout to change some of the set numbers or the actual exercise. However, it is getting there. So that's one of advantage this has got over the other wearables. It also does a VO2 max estimation for running. It doesn't do it for cycling because there's no power meter capability. It also does stress tracking, so all-day stress tracking based on your heart rate readings. And again, I found this really accurate, really useful, and I can see points in the day when I've been doing stuff or that I've been relaxing when it's captured those peaks, and when I've been stressed and when I've not been stressed. So in terms of fitness tracking, in this category, the Garmin Vivoactive 3 wins hands down. It's got a load of great features. It's got great customization, and it's got some great after data fitness features that you can look at both in the Garmin Connect app and online and on the watch. The Apple Watch 3 and the the Fitbit Ionic come in a close second and third to each other. However, I believe this is aimed at a more casual user that's wanting some great fitness features, but wanting just to get on with it. Whereas the Vivoactive 3 is more advanced and will give you more data, and it will give you more bang for your buck in terms of your fitness features. Okay guys, that's the end of part 2. Hopefully you've got a good overview of the activity tracking and fitness tracking. If you want to watch part 3, which covers the wrist-based HR sensor, the connecting external sensors, and the smartwatch features, along with the conclusion of this series, then just check out the video that's coming on the screen right now, and that'll take you straight to the video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.